So the topic today is practice is key. And there are a number of ways to think about practice. You know the old joke about Carnegie Hall. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. Then there's a whole list of spiritual practices that one can undertake. But you can't really undertake it unless you do it and are committed to it. That's the practice, practice, practice part of spiritual practice. And why on earth are we doing this? What's this all about? Who cares? Well, one of my favorite enlightened beings, author, Dr. David Hawkins, said in his voluminous work on human consciousness, the single most important thing that any human can ever do for the benefit of all the world, for all of mankind, for the planet that we live on, is to raise your consciousness, your individual consciousness. And what is that? What is your consciousness? Well, it is an awareness of who you are. An awareness that you are literally, absolutely literally, an expression of divinity. And that's the single most important thing that we accomplish for ourselves. And do you get that by listening to some inspiring words on Sunday morning? Not so much. Not so much. It takes a commitment. Oh, man, don't you just hate commitments? Oh, that means that's something I gotta do. No, it's never something you've got to do. It's something that you elect to do. You choose it because it suits who you wish to become. And that's what we're up to, is choosing to be who we really are. And you can't do that by thinking about it once every 2 or 3 days. Is it your thinking that Steph Curry, who's a great three-point shooter, does it just because he thinks about it? No, he's got thousands, tens of thousands of repetitions that are part of his cellular memory. His muscles remember how to shoot a three-point shot. And that's particularly important for athletes, but it's important for everyone. I'm sure you're familiar with Malcolm Gladwell, who's written 3 books. Blink, Tipping Point, and Outliers. And in his book, Outliers, speaking about people who are wildly successful, not just experts, but true outliers. He suggests that outliers don't even get close until they've put in 10,000 hours of practice. 10,000 hours. Now, if you practice 20 hours a week, it's going to take you 10 years to get 10,000 hours of practice. So am I asking you to commit to becoming a spiritual practitioner over the next 10 years by meditating for 20 hours a week? I'm not asking you to do anything, but I'm suggesting that what we're up to is about creating an energy field that literally changes the world. Because the energy field that we put out has a cumulative effect. The energy that we send forth creates the opportunity for critical mass to be achieved. There is absolutely no conceivable way that this is going to happen otherwise. Oh, I know. It's your thinking that the political structure of the world will stand up and save us all. Really? That's your thinking? It's particularly not my thinking this year. And I won't say anything further about that. No government on earth is capable of making the fundamental change in how the world is seen. What must happen is that individuals like you and I have to take the lead. We have to take the initiative. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Literally, you are the savior of the world. And that doesn't mean that you're going to become a great leader. What it means is that you have the opportunity to participate in this grand transformation that is taking place on the planet. A literal spiritual transformation is taking place. And the more people who understand who we are, where we are, and why we are here, the more people who will begin to take on that process of awakening themselves to their spiritual nature. We are literally spiritual beings having a human experience. Spiritual beings. We're not our bodies. Our bodies are expressions of who we think we are. Our bodies will pass away at some point. We lay them aside. It's no different than if you had this toy that you played with most of your life, and it's time now to set aside the toy and move on to the next phase. You set it aside. You don't worry about, oh, I lost my cowboy hat. It's something that you used to do. And that's exactly what the body is for. It's a temporary communication device. And that's how we communicate with one another. But the real process is taking on a spiritual practice. And there are so many, there must be 600 different spiritual practices that you could take on. And how do you get to where you want to be? How do you decide which one's for you? Stick your toe in the water. See what it feels like. Take a meditation class. Read spiritual books. Rob, our librarian, has a whole room full of books that are ready to be read. He wants you to read them. He gets a great deal of joy when you go in there and select a book and say, oh, I want to read this. This sounds good. This sounds interesting. But there's just so many. I can't even begin to list them all, but I might give you a few ideas. A spiritual practice, and this is something that you do every time you remember to do it, which is the biggest problem, We all have things that we've decided that we're going to do, and all of a sudden it's Wednesday morning, and you say, oh, God, I forgot I was going to do that. So, making the commitment to get involved in a spiritual practice requires memory. It requires thinking about it often. It's been said that every thought is a prayer, and that is so true. So make it your habit. Make it your spiritual practice. To every time, as Nancy read this morning, every time you have a thought, think about Spirit. Think about God, whatever name you attach to Spirit. Have a conversation. It's not like You're bothering divinity. The divine wants you to come in to a fuller awareness of your relationship to the divine. That's the point. The point is not to prove yourself better or stronger or faster or whatever than somebody else. The point is for you to realize that you are literally the Savior of the world. You have within you the power to change the world. And we change the world not because one of us wakes up, but because people all around us are waking up. One of the most important things that you actually do is to gather with like-minded souls, to become a part of a spiritual community that has as its goal awakening. And that truly is our goal. We don't have any other temporal goals. We truly are up to awakening, becoming so completely convinced that we are expressions of divinity, right where we are. We are perfect. We are not lacking. We believe that we are, but we're not. So the message is select a spiritual practice, and then, like Jack Benny is reputed to have said, if you want to get to Carnegie Hall, you got to do it. Practice, practice, practice. You can't even meditate without practicing meditation. There are hundreds of meditation classes that you can take. Some of them are taught by Deep Spring Center, who rents some space from us. And there are lots and lots more. But one of the things you might select is simply being fully present. That's a spiritual practice. So be fully present. That's hard for people who have ADD, trust me on that one. Because I'm always being distracted. I'm always thinking about what's next or things of that sort. So a wonderful spiritual practice for me might be to be fully present, to be right in a conversation. Instead of thinking about, well, I wonder what I'll say next. I wonder how I'll respond to that, and so forth and so on. Another possible practice is compassion. Have compassion for people who don't have what you have. And mostly that's people who don't have an awareness that they are expressions of divinity. So have compassion for those who are acting undivinely. Forgiveness is a wonderful practice. One of my favorite spiritual books is A Course in Miracles. And The Course in Miracles suggests that forgiveness is literally our only function. Because you see, forgiveness arises because we think that somebody is doing something to us. And that's never the case. What's always going on is that somebody is unaware of who they are. Somebody is unaware of how they're behaving in an undivine manner. They just simply aren't aware. They've never been taught. They've never had the experience of being an expression of divinity. They've always been told they were something else. Bad, wrong, terrible, too short, too ugly, what have you. Another wonderful practice is gratitude. Say thank you as often as you can remember to say it. One of the things that's a wonderful practice as a practice, and it reminds you every day, is to keep a gratitude journal. And every morning when you get up, make a list of things that you're grateful for that morning. And before you go to bed at night, open your journal and say, write down 3 things that you're grateful for having happened to you that day. And that's a fabulous practice because it gets you tuning in to the gifts the Spirit is giving you all the time. And that's what we're up to, is we're trying to awaken ourselves to who we are. Spend some time in the silence. Practice a little meditation. And zeal. Live life fully. One of my favorite quotes about zeal comes from Charles Fillmore, who was the co-founder of Unity. And at the tender age of 93, he said this: "I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm, and I spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that are mine to do." Wow, 93 years old, and he's springing forth with zeal and enthusiasm. Live your life. Don't let it live you. Be energetic and out there in the world. Another thing that you might consider, stepping out of your comfort zone. Oh no, what will people think? Remember the bumper sticker. What other people think of you is none of your damn business. Remember, it doesn't matter what people think of you. It matters entirely what you think of you. You think of you as an expression of divinity. Tune in to your divinity. Begin the process of creating the critical mass that literally will have the world change. It's up to us. It's not up to me to fix anybody. It's up to me to be the highest and grandest version of myself the world has ever seen. Literally, the highest and grandest version of me. That's my job. That's what I'm up to. That's what is important. That's the most important thing that anyone can ever do for the benefit of everything, of the whole world, of the entire universe. Because, as the Course suggests, minds exist outside of time and space. Minds extend to infinity. As Woody said, or Buzz Lightyear, to infinity and beyond. So remember, it's up to you. You're called to engage yourself in this process of raising your awareness of how wonderful you are. So now it's open